Good evening. Welcome to the 20-gallon SPS LPS Nano Reef. I have a story to tell you. Well, it's actually more of a nightmare. So, are you sitting comfortably? Then let's begin. Let me introduce you to the white slime. This stuff was collecting everywhere. I really didn't take it seriously at first. I thought it was kind of just a minor nuisance. I figured as long as I kept things clean, cleaning the glass, wiping things down, cleaning the equipment, the power heads, I could stay ahead of it. And boy, was I ever wrong. Before long, this was happening. And this, check out that slime. It was completely blocking the bubble plate holes, and the skimmer wasn't operating properly. I also started noticing effects on my corals. Polyps weren't extending. This Pocillopora had been looking magnificent. Now it was really bad. The white slime just kept getting worse, and eventually I reached the point where I was doing tear-down cleanings of my return pump and my skimmer and skimmer pump on alternate days. That's how bad it got. Eventually, the water levels in the display started becoming affected, but I didn't connect this with the slime. I don't know why I didn't realize that the fact the water was rising in the display tank was directly a result of the pipes being clogged. I was cleaning the pumps, ignoring the pipes. Big mistake. So when I eventually clued in that I should also be cleaning the pipes, this is what came out the very first time I ran a brush through the overflow. This is the slime that had collected in that pipe and explained why the water was having an awful time getting from the display down to the sump, and thus the water level was rising in the display. I kept closing down the pump valve from the return pump, thinking I needed to stop the water flowing up to the upper tank. By this point, I was going just about crazy trying to keep up with this stuff. So to my daily task of cleaning one pump or another, I also added running a brush through the pipes just to try and keep them clear. And eventually, even that was not working sufficiently. So we had to take a hacksaw to the plumbing. So replacing the hard plumbing of the overflow with a flexible hose still wasn't enough to keep up with the rapid accumulation of the white slime. And because of this, the water level in the display tank kept rising, and when the water level up there goes up, the water level in the return chamber goes down, and that's where I had my ATO sensor. So here's where it gets tricky, and the ripple effect has a great impact. When the water level in the return chamber went down and the ATO kicked on, it was providing fresh water into the tank when it was unnecessary, and this had two effects. The first was the effect on salinity. It was dropping the salinity. The second was the effect on alkalinity. Because I dose alkalinity via my ATO, it was getting too much alkalinity. And as a result, the alkalinity in my tank water, of course, skyrocketed. So let's recap. First of all, white slime everywhere, looks ugly, pipes clogged, pumps were having to be cleaned every single day, one pump or the other. Alkalinity skyrockets to 12. Salinity drops to 1.018. This because of the clogging in the pipes, causing the display water to rise and the return chamber water to drop, and that's where the ATO sensor is. It took me a long time, probably a couple of weeks, to figure out the connection between all of these things. I don't know why it took so long to understand what was happening, but when I finally realized it, I was able to take some action and stepped up my cleaning program. I actually started cleaning things on an hourly basis, the pipes, checking everything. I was getting very paranoid about it. Didn't want to even leave the house in case something happened and the tank overflowed. It was getting very bad, very discouraging, and very depressing. So now we're into it, probably 6 or 7 weeks. I continued my cleaning routine, and all the time this was going on, I still was researching and reading and trying to figure out what I could do, what might be the problem, what was going wrong. One of the things I came across was a comment that plastic dosing containers could possibly leach chemicals into dosing solutions. So of course I had plastic dosing containers, cheap ones from China, and I checked my calcium, which was the only thing I was dosing at the time, and sure enough, there was mold floating on the top of my calcium solution. This horrified me, and I immediately wondered if this was the source of the problem. So I took it offline, replaced the plastic container with a glass container, and put it back online and continued dosing that way. The second thing I did was to install the green killing machine UV clarifier, thinking that it might help siphon through some of the bacteria that was in the water. And it did a really good job. I have to say, the water did seem to be clearer. The slime really did seem to be slowing down. But I had to clean that little blue sponge several times a day because it got clogged up very, very quickly. One other thing I read was about salt mixing stations becoming really dirty. And guess what? Mine was. Take a look at this. It was really, really crudded up. So I ran everything in a bath of water and vinegar, 50-50, and eventually we came out with this, nice and clean, unbelievable actually, nice clean power head. Pretty amazing how this stuff cleans up. The heater looked great again instead of being all pink, and the pump itself was wonderful. I really didn't expect this. So I mixed up some more fresh salt water, discarded all the other stuff I had, got it to the right temperature, and now we had fresh, clean salt water again. So after cleaning up the mixing station, the next thing I tried was removing the carbon, because I had read a lot about rogue carbon sources being contributors to the white slime. There was nothing I could think of that was an actual carbon source, but I wondered whether the carbon in my sump might have something to do with it. Even though I know it's only charcoal, it's not carbon in the strict sense of the type of carbon that gets used for dosing nutrients. So I took that out, had really cloudy water for a few days, but that soon settled down. Then for the next week or so, it seemed like on a daily basis things would change. One day it would look great, no slime on the glass. The next day there'd be slime on the glass. It kept going back and forth like this. And by this point I was really at my wit's end and seriously doubting my ability to take on a project like the XL 425. And that was when I received the aquarium for my birthday. So my doubts had to be set aside. I had to keep fighting. What happened next was a turning point. I saw a flatworm. So I immediately got my flatworm exit and treated the tank. If I see one, I do this right away, because if there are too many, the toxins are difficult to deal with when they die. So it's always been my practice to immediately treat the minute I see a flatworm anywhere. And you know what? A strange thing happened. Within 3 days, the white slime was gone. And other things I noticed once the slime disappeared, the chaeto algae started growing again. It turned green. It wasn't white. The skimmer started skimming brown instead of milky white. And any slime that I did find in the pipes when I cleaned them out, because I was still cleaning them out, was brown. It wasn't white. The very last time I cleaned the return pump, all of the slime inside was a dark brown color. So here's what I've learned about this whole experience with the white slime. It doesn't seem to bother the fish or the coral. I firmly believe what killed and negatively affected the corals in my tank was the parameter swings, the issues with salinity dropping so low and then having to be raised up, the alkalinity skyrocketing and then having to be reduced again, the calcium plummeting. This didn't have anything to do with the white slime, but it certainly didn't help. All of these things together caused the problems in the tank, and it was triggered by the white slime clogging the pipes. So all I can say is take it very, very seriously. If you see it starting to accumulate, look for it in your equipment, especially the equipment that keeps your water flowing and keeps your parameters stable. I hope the white slime nightmare never happens to you, but if it does, I really hope this video helps in some way with some sort of troubleshooting or figuring out what to do. What do I think ended my white slime? Quite honestly, I think it was the flatworm exit. I think something in the flatworm exit triggered something else that stopped the slime, that stopped the bacteria reproducing. I could be wrong about that, and I really hope I never have a chance to test out that theory to try it again. So thank you for watching. I know this was an extra long video. I did my best to cut it down, but it's just such an important topic, and it plagues reefers no end when it happens to them because we just don't know what to do.